How are you? Welcome. This place smells like chili heaven because today we're continuing our discussions on American food, so we're making chili. I got you, didn't I? Because you thought chili was either Spanish or Mexican, and it is not. First of all, we know it can't be Spanish because the Spaniards didn't know anything about peppers until they were discovered in the New World, which means, of course, peppers came from the New World, so chili is American. The other reason is that Mexicans simply refuse to recognize what we call chili. It didn't start in Mexico at all, though it does have a Spanish name. The chilies that we use for this come from southwestern portion of America, of the States, I should say, and it was probably invented in Santa Fe, San Antonio, something like that. One story goes that in San Antonio, they used to pack up a dry beef, or pemmican, along with chopped chili peppers and beef suet, or beef lard, you know, suet. And then they would put it in the bricks, little compressed cakes, and take it with them on the big trip to the California gold fields. That meant that when you were out in the camp in the evening, you see, you would melt one of these bricks down in a pot of water, and you could throw in some beans, and you had what we call chili. It's very, very American. Until 1943, there was something in this country called the Chili Queen, and she sold chili in the street corners. This went on for generations. And then the public health departments all over the country shut her down because they figured that she couldn't keep up with the public health rules at the time. And she probably couldn't. You know, it was a little street corner operation. Early in our century, early in the 1900s, when chili really began to spread throughout America, when it hit places like Ohio, you know, we're pushing it now. There were clergymen. Catch this. As a clergyman, this delights me. There were clergymen who said, "You must not eat chili." This is about 1905. "You must not eat chili. It is the soup of the devil, and food as hot as hell's brimstone." Can't you hear him? Interesting comments. In 1985, Americans consumed so much chili. Well, we canned 240 million pounds. Now, I don't want you to eat canned chili. I want you to make chili from scratch. And it's wonderful. Now, if I say real scratch, then, of course, I'm talking, let's see if I can find a good one here for you. I'm talking about using chili peppers. And I just picked one out here. So this is an ancho pepper. And what you do is you buy these dried in most Chicano markets, or markets that cater to people from the Southwest. Texas food and Santa Fe food, that sort of thing. See the peppers inside, the seeds inside? You want to get rid of those because they're really hot. So get rid of the stem and the seeds. That goes into the garbage. And the pepper itself is what we'll use to make chili. This is the rascal. Now, if you buy commercial chili pepper or chili powder, what you have in this is the ground chili, cumin, the spice called cumin, oregano, garlic powder, and salt. Now, I contend that you can make all of those yourself. In Santa Fe, you would never buy, or in San Antonio, you would never buy this kind of mixture. You would buy straight chili powder, straight chili pepper powder, you see. Then you would add your own garlic and so on. So, but it's hard for us in the rest of the country to find that product, so we'll do both today. But first of all, let me show you the old classic method. What you do, this is great fun and really delicious. You soak about half a dozen of these in boiling water. Look what happens to the color. You wouldn't even think they're the same item, would you? Look how red they become again, you see? Aren't they gorgeous? Ancho peppers. Well, these go into a food blender, 6 of them, covered with boiling water. And I'm separating this from the water because I don't want to have more than about a pint. I think we're about right this time. About a pint of water in your food blender. Now to that, you're going to add a bit of garlic, a couple of big fat cloves. I love garlic, you see. 2 cloves of garlic, and some oregano. Now I'm using oregano that has a very bright flavor. This is from Greece. The best oregano in the world comes from Greece. Don't ask me if the American Indians had this. Of course they didn't. They had a weed very close to it, though. But see, it comes in big sticky form. You have to shake the leaves off of this and then pick out the little... This doesn't look bad. There. Oh, that's a little much. Anyhow, I have about a tablespoon of oregano along with my 6 ancho peppers, and that's going to go in the food blender along with the garlic. And we're going to blend this in a hurry. If I don't slop this all over the place, I am rather crude when it comes to cooking. There we go. That's fine. I know that this looks like tomato soup, but trust me, it is not tomato soup. Now, the quickest way to use this is to simply understand that you put the sauce over any kind of meat, and I'm using pork because that's very, very typical. There we are. That's very, very typical of what the Southwest Indians used to eat. And this goes in an oven, about 325 for a couple of hours. This is great with beef. Slice the beef thin and soak it overnight. You remember I did this on an earlier show when we talked about the cooking of the Southwest Indians. Now I have a pot somewhere. I have labels all over the place. Somewhere in this mess, I have a pot. I think it's in the oven. Yes, it is. Ouch. There we are. This is legitimate chili. Basic ingredients. Nothing more. Excuse me, I've got to get something to set that. Remember I've told you never to put hot pots on your boards because you'll ruin your boards? I mean that seriously. You must remember that that the heat from the pot will ruin your board. It'll cook the food that's soaked in. Blah, blah, blah. Here we go. There. And we have in this pot some delicious chili, literally cooked just with meat and with chili. I know you're thinking this is terribly hot, but you know, it's not so bad. Not so bad. All right, let's go on to another one. I have all kinds of them for you today. Let me just find a place to store everything. The second one. What is the second one? I think it's Texas. Yes. The next thing we have to admit is that in Texas, chili, this is probably the place where chili was invented. Texas is nothing like the stuff that you and I would eat in South Tacoma. A good Texan wouldn't touch what we call chili coming out of a can. Believe me, he wouldn't touch it. Let me show you what he will touch. And if you won't touch this, Texans, please keep your letters limited to 2 pages and include a self-addressed stamped envelope because I know I'm going to hear from you. That's part of the joy of this job. I always hear. All right, in a frying pan, we're going to make Texas chili. I have beef that is, let me show you the quality here. I have beef that I've trimmed down. This is a beautiful bit of chuck roast. You see what I've done? I've trimmed out all the fat, and you want to pan fry a couple of pounds of this along with some bacon so that you have some nice fat, and then you cook it in the bacon fat, and some onions, you see? Now, cook this down. I've browned it. See what's happening here? And to that, I'm going to add a bit of garlic, about 6 cloves diced up. And look, I've learned a new trick. I want to show you this one. See all this garlic? Look at this. Look at this. You can see the size of my hand. We've got, what, 20 cloves of garlic here? What I've done is to throw this in my food processor. I have a medium size. Mine happens to be a KitchenAid. You can find one, though, that's not as big as the great, you know, the original models that we all used to have and work with all the time. Garlic will fly to the sides, and you can't chop it properly. But if you put it in a medium size machine, it will chop things beautifully. So I had this very finely diced. 6 cloves of garlic. To that, we're going to add 6 jalapeno peppers. And these little rascals, this is another kind of pepper. You see what you do here is to simply slice it in half and take out the seeds. And for heaven's sakes, be sure, as I told you before, don't rub these seeds. See them? Woo! We're talking heat. Don't rub those seeds on your body, or it's going to be all over. So we're going to put 6 jalapeno peppers, so I've already chopped these up, into our meat. I better get a kettle to put all of this in, or we're going to be in trouble here. I have a kettle that's labeled Texas. Here it is. Good. You won't believe the code system I have today because I've got pots all over the place. And it's a good system. At least I hope it's going to work. So I'll put the meat. What are you jumping around for? That's a very fresh piece. Get back in there. We'll put the meat, the onions, the garlic, the bacon. What am I missing? The jalapeno peppers in a pot. And then we're going to add to the pot. Let me get rid of this one. We don't need it. We're going to add to the pot. Let's see. We're going to add a couple teaspoons of salt. Plenty. 2 teaspoons of salt. And we're going to add about 4 tablespoons of chili powder. Now, I prefer that you would use a plain. This is a little teaspoon. We want 4 tablespoons. Don't turn off the television set. I'm doing this, not you. It's going to be fine. Calm down. And then I need to add 1 tablespoon of whole cumin. Now, cumin, this little long seed, this is a teaspoon, a little plastic teaspoon. I'm going to put a couple of these. I want a tablespoon, you see? There. Cumin gives it that legitimate flavor that you need from the Southwest Indians and from the Texans. Wonderful stuff. Some more oregano. Oh, tablespoon or so. Throw in the tablespoon of oregano. And then we're going to add some tomatoes. And I have ground up my tomatoes in a food processor so that, you know, it's a 28 ounce, get that? A 28 ounce can of tomatoes. And I've ground them up just pureed them for a minute in a food processor. There, not a blender, but a processor, you see. There. This size will work great. You see what I'm talking about? It isn't quite as large as the size that you won't fit in your dishwasher. I'm having more fun with this one at the moment. All right, and let's see, what else do we need? We've got everything in there. Now we'll add to that beans if you're desperate. No good Texan would put beans in his chili. As a matter of fact, even the tomatoes are questionable. That's what they tell me. So forget about the beans. Tomatoes if you must. This goes on the stove to cook for some time. Let's see if I have one ready. Yes, I do. And you'll come up with a dish that's absolutely gorgeous. Ouch. Okay. Where am I going to put this one? All right, so you caught me. I said don't put it on the board. Sometimes you get stuck. I have a ladle for this, and I'll show you what real Texas chili looks like. No beans. Isn't that gorgeous? See how rich? Now this would go over. If you want to serve it with beans, you can. You can put it over beans. But you wouldn't cook beans with this and call it Texas, because it's just not the case. There it is. Real Texas chili. Yes, it's hot. It should be hot. After all, we have to rattle that poor clergyman who claims it's of the devil and brimstone and all of that. Poor man. There. There's so many things that we miss out on if you don't take the fact that the incarnation is a serious doctrine. You see, if you do understand that it's God's creation, then all kinds of things go. Chili wouldn't be so good if God didn't like chili. I know that's the case. I know I'm going to hear about that one too, but that's all right. Just be sure and include a self-addressed stamped envelope. All right, next one. What is the next one? Oh, another original. We'll get down to my mom's chili in a minute. Hang on. And Mom, you hang on. It's all right. She fed me chili when I was a kid in South Tacoma because she really didn't have much money to serve anything else. However, and it was very good chili. However, I want to do one more historic chili for you. And this is a chili that is using only green chilies. Let me see if I can find everything I need here. Here we go. Ginger, pots. Must be on the stove already. Yes, good. Here it is. Here we are. I have browned a bit of pork. You see, just a little bit, but this is a couple of pounds of good lean pork. Now, to the pork, this is a green chili dish. It's not going to be red at all, but it will use real chilies. And I'm going to add to that a bit of, let's see, corn can go in this, but I don't want to bother with it. I'm going to put it into the celery. Oh, 2 or 3 stalks. This is a wonderful dish. A fellow by the name of Mingo in Tacoma, Washington, near Fort Lewis and McCord Air Force Base used to make this for me. His was so hot, you could hardly even stand it. I want 2 medium tomatoes. Enough chopped vegetable around here. There we go. 2 medium tomatoes. Everything is fresh, you see. And this is a dish from the Santa Fe Indians. Wonderful, wonderful food, but it's all green. Now, I want 5 roasted chilies. Well, I use a can of roasted chilies from the Ortega people. I think they're just terrific. There's about, oh, and that's plenty. That's 5. All right. You see? See what I'm using? What do they call them? Diced green chilies, you see? And they're wonderful things. So put in about, what am I using? I better be honest with you. Good ½ cup anyhow. And then to that we're going to add a little bit of garlic. It's wonderful having your garlic chopped up ahead of time because you can keep this in the refrigerator and just go to town with it, you see? It's a wonderful gimmick. I keep mine sealed up in a French jelly jar with a little lid on it, you see? And chop up a whole bunch of it. And that way, when I come home from work, I can cook from scratch without having to do the pain all the time. Please, no reason for you to have to do that. All right, that's basically the recipe, but now I have to add a shot of, what do they call this stuff? La Victoria has something called salsa jalapeno. Jalapeno pepper sauce adds a jolt to this. This stuff is just terrific. Now, cover that with water. Oops, there we are. I won't need much, of course, because you don't want to boil this in a lot of loose water. You want to add enough moisture for the garlic, the 2 green peppers, 2 kinds of green peppers, the onion, the tomato, and the celery. Did I say onion? Do I have any onion in that? I shouldn't have. I just realized I said that. No, there's no onion in this dish. What's the matter with me? All right, bring that to a simmer, cover it, and then when it, if it is too wet for you, simply take the lid off, and I'll show you what you get. I'm going to put this off in the corner of the stove. Lord, they're heavy. Here it is. Here we go. Here we go. green chili from New Mexico. Ugh, there. This stuff is murder. I don't mean murder in terms of heat. I mean murder in terms of wonderful, wonderful flavors. Now, this is really chili. See, we haven't used a bean yet, you see, in the normal sense, have we? These are basic chili dishes. Chili with beans, or chili con carne with beans. Chili is a chili pot, and con carne means with meat, you see. Chili with beans is a wonderful, wonderful dish, but we'll make that later on. This is chili con carne, period. But it's green chili con carne called chili verde. Chili verde. Channing and Jason and Patty and I make a green chili burrito, enchilada style, with this stuff, and simply die. It's so good. I've got too much juice on there. I don't want to run all over the tablecloth. All right, here we go. A green chili that's just smashing. All right, now my mother's chili. Let's try one more here. She's always been a grand cook. And that answers one of your questions, doesn't it? You're always asking me, where'd you learn to cook? Well, I don't remember ever learning to cook. I'm not much of a cook. But when I was a little kid, I always stood at her side, and she taught me to, I think, first of all, to appreciate the kitchen. That's what I want you to do with your kid. A young man in our time should certainly not grow up and say, well, I have to get married because I have no one to cook for me. He should be able to go out and find a gorgeous woman and propose and say, hey, I can cook like crazy. Then he can choose from the flock in a very different way. All right, this one then is a dish of basic American home-style chili. It's very, very simple. My frying pan full of meat here. Here we go. Oops, I lost the label. I want you to see this. When my staff helps, it had a little label in here that said Mom's. You can't get more American than that. All right, Mom's chili is now on the set here. What we have is a frying pan, and I have sauteed a pound of hamburger and a bit of yellow onion, one large yellow onion, and I'm going to put in 3 cloves of garlic, crushed up garlic. Oh, that's already in here, excuse me. 3 cloves of garlic already in here, along with the onion and the hamburger. Saute that, cook it down. Got that? Now that goes into a pan. This time I can show you. I can show you this one. Catch that, will you? Look what they've done, see? Look at this. Mom's. I have to know what's going on, because otherwise I'll become so confused. All right, Mom's chili goes into the pan. The hamburger cooked down, browned a bit, you see, along with 1 large yellow onion and 2 or 3 cloves of garlic. Now into the pan we're going to add the following treasures. We want to add a tablespoon of cumin seed. Remember I told you about cumin being very typical of this sort of wonderful food. And we want 2 tablespoons of hot chili powder. This is a small spoon, so I'm going to really dump it in. Don't panic. That's all right. It'll cook down. And a tablespoon of Worcestershire. Now, this is what makes the difference. This is what makes a very wonderful dish. Tablespoon of Worcestershire, all right. And we need a large can of tomatoes. And again, I told you that I run these through the food processor, you see. So they're all ready to go. There we are. That chops them up a bit. I don't like to buy pureed tomatoes because I think they're too watery. So puree them yourself, and I think you'll have much better luck. What else do we need in here? 1 green bell pepper. So that's all chopped up, you see. How's that? Look, I have everything chopped today, so I can show you lots of things. 1 green bell pepper, and then we want to add a cup of red wine, and I'm using a Burgundy, something that's dry enough to not add sugar to your pot. We don't want that. 1 cup of Burgundy. There we are. And a bit of fresh pepper, cracked pepper. Where's my peppermill? Here we go. You'll not need much. And we have Mom's recipe. And, of course, a bit of salt. Now, we're going to add some beans to this. About a pound of beans. And what I've done is to cook the beans ahead of time a bit. I don't like to soak them overnight because the beans very often begin to ferment. You know the little bubbles you find on the beans in the morning? You find this big froth on the top? We've now decided that's fermentation. So what I do is to put a pound of beans in a pot of water, cover them, 2 or 3 inches above the beans, you see. Bring them to a boil and turn the heat off. Let them sit for an hour, and you're ready to go. Now that's what I've done with these. I'll show you. Look at that. Went right to them. I'm doing better. Oh, this whole pot full of beans is wonderful stuff. I want about a pound of beans. That is to say, before they're cooked, you want a pound of beans. Now, see what you have here. These have been soaked in boiling water. You bring them to a boil and turn off the heat and let them soak for an hour, and the recipe is complete. So we'll stir up Mom's chili and put it on to simmer for about an hour. Now, if it isn't spicy enough for you, put in some more garlic, or put in some Tabasco, or put in some pepper. Do whatever you like. But I like a shot of Worcestershire. Fred Winston makes chili. Let me tell you that this is basic American chili. This is what I've just done. Listen to what he does. It's kind of interesting. I've got everybody's recipe in the country. You know, there are journals now on chili and great chili cook-offs. We've really done it. Fred puts in some interesting things. He has lots of garlic. Are you ready for this? He's a friend of mine here in Chicago. He adds a shot of beer to this basic chili recipe. He also adds some paprika. I've never done that. He adds a shot of Tabasco, and he puts in some brown sugar. Now, I'm going to put his recipe in one of my books one of these days for you, but it's kind of interesting to hear his variations, and it's just terrific. My staff will stand around and eat his chili like crazy. All right, Mom's chili is ready to go. Onto the burner. Now, let's not kid ourselves. There's no room for this. And then the next thing you could do with the same recipe, what's in here? Oh, okay. The next thing you can do is to add black beans to this. Instead of using red kidney beans, add black beans. Now, black beans, of course, are made the same way. That is to say, you soak them overnight if you insist, or here's the little bean, you see. Instead of using the red kidney or small kidney, use black beans. These are cumin, and you can find them in most cities now. And you soak them or cook them a bit, and you see they swell up like this, and then use that same recipe for making wonderful black bean chili. Or Michael Foley here in Chicago. This is called Variations on a Common Theme. Got me? Michael Foley here in Chicago makes a marvelous chili close to this. Not the black bean, but the red bean chili. And he adds just heaps and heaps of freshly grated ginger. Now, you buy this in the supermarket. You see, this is called a hand of ginger. You see? And you can grate it on this little board. Put a lot of freshly grated ginger in your chili pot. You've got a dish that is simply phenomenal. Just wonderful. All right, another one for you. In Cincinnati, they're serious chili freaks, and they do a very strange thing. I think I like it. They add to what you and I would call a basic chili dish. They add cinnamon, allspice, and cocoa. No, don't tune the set. You heard me. Cinnamon, allspice, and cocoa. And the fellow that invented this dish has some Near Eastern background or something. I don't remember the whole story. No, Macedonia. He's from Macedonia. He threw in some cinnamon and allspice to give it that really interesting Near Eastern flavor, and some chocolate, which, of course, would have come from Mexico in the old days. And I have a pot of it here somewhere. Here we go. No, that's California. Da-dum-bum. Black bean, ginger, Cincinnati chili. Here it is. And in Cincinnati, ouch. In Cincinnati, you do a very interesting thing with chili, and I've got to show it to you. It's called chili 5 ways. Now, one, I've got to put some pasta in the oven here, in the pot here. First of all, you have the spaghetti by itself, the beans by themselves with meat, and that's called 2 ways. First, the first chili is simply chili meat, right? That's one. That's chili. Then if you have it with beans, it's called chili 2 ways. If you serve it, now watch this one. Where's a big enough bowl here? If you serve the chili, now this is the one that has, there we are. This is the one that has cinnamon, allspice, and chocolate in it, cocoa. If you serve it along with beans, over, what am I calling this, spaghetti, then you have chili 3 ways. Don't kill yourself here, Smith. Here's spaghetti or chili and beans over spaghetti, so that's 1, 2, 3 items, right? And on top of this, we're talking lunch here, kids. We're not talking something informal. On top of this, we're going to put some chopped yellow onions, and that means it's chili 4 ways. Got that? And on top of that, we're going to put, there. I have to reach for everything. We're going to put some grated cheese, and you've got chili 5 ways from Cincinnati. That is it's an incredible meal. There's no question about it. All right, finally, I have so many for you. Finally, I have a chili from California. And of course, you're thinking sprouts and avocados and all that sort of thing. Doesn't have any of those things. It's California. I'll just set it out here for you. It's California chili made with chicken instead of... There, can you see it in here? There it is. It's made with chicken instead of beef or pork. And it's really very delicious. Lots of green peppers. I'm chilied out. You understand? There are all kinds of other things I can show you. Chili is American, American, American. It is not from Mexico. It's never been seen in Mexico. As a matter of fact, I found an old Mexico dictionary, and the dictionary says, chili, a disgusting dish from the States that has never been seen in Mexico, period. So today, I've cooked Texas chili for you, green chili, chili from Cincinnati 5 ways, and finally a California chili made out of chicken. Please, we're talking American. I'll see you again. Until then, this is
For more than 100